All right, so in this video, I'm just going to walk you through an application activity that we were going to do in class. And rather than have you do it, we'll just kind of talk through it because I think it's a useful exercise for you to still kind of think about how all of this discussion that we've had in class around planning for language and scaffolding and assessment applies in the classroom. So here you see a text. I'll see if I can move my video a little bit, called Using Land in Different Ways. This is an elementary text, so probably like third grade, second grade, focused on social studies. And it's a text that talks about rural, urban, and suburban areas. So this is something that I taught with my students when I was teaching second graders. So they can think about these different types of communities, gives them some information about rural areas, their characteristics, urban and suburban. So if you were going to be assessing what students learned from reading this passage, I want you to think of 3 different ways that a student could show you that they understood the content. So go ahead and pause the video if you want to kind of take a look at and think for yourself before I show you some ideas of what a student could do, especially in MLL, to show you that they understood the content or understood the difference between rural, urban, and suburban. I'm going to move forward, but again, pause the video if you want to try the activity before I talk you through it. So here is a few different examples. So students can show reading comprehension in more ways than just writing answers to questions, comprehension questions, or orally stating them. So one way they could do it is by categorizing, classifying, or sorting pictures, words, or phrases into groups. So you might imagine having kind of images of or the words urban, suburban, rural, and then they have to categorize different things that would fit in those different sections, right? So that would show you they understand the content. Drawing a picture based on the text. So you could ask them to draw what each of these environments look like to show you that they understood. Matching words with pictures, words, phrases, and sentences. So again, you could have different words that correspond to these 3 different areas and have them be matching them to pictures to show, or to sentences to show that they understand the meaning behind these different types of living spaces. You could have them underline or highlight main ideas to show you that they're able to kind of pull out the key details or ideas that are informing what they understand from the passage. You could give them a close exercise, which is basically a fill in the blank with a word bank, and have them kind of put the words that describe the different types of living spaces using a close exercise. They could sequence pictures, sentences or paragraphs. They can respond to oral comprehension questions. So you could just ask them about the passage and give them some visual supports to support their answer, etc. So students do not just have to respond to reading comprehension exercises in written or kind of formal oral ways. There's a lot of ways students can show you that they comprehended, where we can reduce the language demand, but still be challenging students and still have them engaging with the same grade level text. All right, so now the second part of this is you see the assessment that goes with that passage. So this is a reading comprehension worksheet, again, very commonly used in classrooms. So this is if the teacher decided not to go the route of all of these other ways we just talked about how we could assess, maybe you decide you still want to use the worksheet. I want you to think about 2 ways that you could still reduce the language demand for MLLs at different levels of English language development. So we have what is a rural area like, what is an urban area like, what is a suburban area like, and then a few kind of other questions about their own thinking and what they like. So what are some other ways I could still have students kind of engage with these questions, but reduce the language demand? Go ahead and pause it now if you want to think about it. If you'd like to move forward, we'll move forward in just a moment. All right, I'm going to go ahead and continue. So here's some ways we could reduce the language demand. We could add sentence starters. A rural area has, so kind of give students some of that initial language to be able to write their response. We could include a word bank with illustrated keywords. So words such as many people and few people. You can imagine some visuals that would go with that. City, countryside. So words that they can pull from as they're writing their description and visuals that help support their understanding. I could take questions 1 to 3 and put them into some sort of graphic organizer, like a Venn diagram, something that kind of helps them understand the way that the questions are worded in a more graphic format. I could have students work with a partner who shares their L1. So as they're answering the questions, they can have someone that they can ask clarifying questions to, who can help with translation. And I could also have students draw and label pictures of these things. So instead of just having them fill out this box, I could have them draw an image and label the different characteristics for these 3 areas. And finally, I could provide the worksheet in the student's home language. So if I know the student is literate in their L1, if I know they can write in their L1 and they can read in their L1, if I'm really focused on the content and not as concerned with them understanding the content in English, then I don't need to necessarily have them do this assessment in English. They could do it in Spanish and show me that they understand rural, urban, and suburban. They might even read the passage in English, but still be able to write their responses in Spanish. So they're showing me that they're comprehending, because if I'm mostly concerned with did they understand the passage, is the content knowledge there, then I don't care that they give it to me in a language other than English. If my goal was I need to make sure that they can understand how to do something in English, then I would want it to be required in English. So depending on your goal and your focus, if the focus is the content, then you can think about what it would mean to use students L1 strategically. So those are just a few ways to apply some of what we talked about in class and what you read about for today and throughout the course as you think about what this looks like in practice. And that's all for now.